Mali are at risk. Well, earlier I spoke to Dr. Randolph Kent, Director of the Humanitarian Futures Programme at King's College London, and asked him what he thinks governments and aid agencies could have done differently in East Africa.
What happened in the Horn of Africa, what happened and might happen in West Africa, and what happens too often around the world is that we fail to try and take and understand that we have to deal with uncertainty, that risks are not clear all the time, and that what we need to do is to say, we will be willing to take a risk to ensure that people's lives at least can be protected, and that's what...
So very specifically, what measures should have been implemented at that time?
Well, let me just say, I think it's not what the measures should have been implemented there are very clear. I mean, since 2008, it was very obvious if you followed the satellite pictures, if you followed the whole kind of mobile communications that were going on at the time, we knew that there was a serious crisis building up, not in 2010, but as early as 2008. The fact that we didn't respond is not a question that we didn't know, it's a question that we failed to use the kind of information we had access to.
You've laid a lot of blame at the feet of Western governments. What about the aid agencies, though?
I'm not laying blame at the feet of Western governments. What I am laying blame at, and it's not a question of blame, it's a question of urging the international community to do things differently. And what I'm saying is that we have to think far more strategically about the way we deal with the future. We have the scientific and technological capacities to do so, and that as we see crises becoming ever more complex and their dimensions and dynamics in some instances exponentially greater, we cannot afford not to be strategic. We cannot afford to sit back and not respond to the kinds of issues that might be.
You say we can't afford. Also, you go on to make the point that more preemptive action is actually more cost-effective too.
And that is clearly the case, and I'm delighted you brought that up. If you take a look at World Bank statistics and the statistics of other organizations, it's very, very clear that $1 spent on prevention and preparedness will save $7 in terms of the kind of response that is needed to overcome these tragedies that we're seeing all too often. So the economic argument is clearly there.